And I just feel like we're in this era, in this cycle right now of like, oh, that movie did well, let's do another one. Because we're too scared to let go of the things that we know and love and embrace new content.
I filmed that video 5 years ago. I was thinking when Strangers Chapter 1 came out, I feel like ranting about remakes yet again. And I forgot that I had done an entire, well, not even an entire video, but I had already made a rant within another video about remakes at the time, which was so wild because that was in 2019. And the tipping point for me then was another Addams Family rendition. And I was like, how many times? So let's do a little remake of my remake rant from 5 years ago. It's very meta. I think that it has gotten even worse since 2019, and of course there were a lot of remakes that came out in that time. We're going to talk about them, but it's gotten worse since then because we're just in this era of like capitalizing on what's already been made. Well, the hard work has already been done for us, so let's just do it again, and we'll try to get the same payout. We'll try to get the same money in return, and it's just lazy. It's lazy writing to me. They're just banking on the repeated success of a movie that has already been done before and hoping that's enough to make a profit and to make money. And it feels very cash grabby. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite, okay? Because there are a lot of things that, you know, I don't hate all remakes, and there's a lot of things that I am a hypocrite about this with, and so I'm just, you know, calling out my own hypocrisy here. There are situations where I'm like, I don't care. I'm excited for it. I don't care that it's a cash grab or that it's easy or lazy. Silent Hill, I will be seated for every single Silent Hill movie, every single Final Destination movie, every single Saw movie. Like, if you keep them coming, I'm gonna go see them, okay? So I recognize that I can be a hypocrite in this. Now, we have always had remakes, okay? Since film pretty much came about, especially, you know, probably since like the 80s, we've had 70s, we've had remakes going on, okay? I just think it's different now because, first of all, they're lazier now. They don't put in as much effort as they did back in the day. You look at John Carpenter's The Thing, which originally bombed, so just pointing that out, it was not a box office hit like a lot of the remakes are today, but they put in so much work into that movie, a lot of practical effects, only for it to bomb, which really sucks. I just feel like throughout the 80s, through, I'm gonna say the year 2000, they weren't as frequent. Remakes were not as frequent as we're getting them today, and they definitely were not like the primary focus of movies that were released that year. A lot of people focused more probably on sequels when it came to like franchises, because obviously we're looking at Halloween, Friday, Texas, Scream. Everyone was excited for sequels, not necessarily remakes. So I feel like now, I mean, we're still doing sequels galore here.
If there is a movie that is successful in the theaters, then they're going to want to make something either just like it, aka a remake down the road, or they're going to want to make a sequel to it. So not only are we in the era of remakes, but we're also in the era of sequels. And I think this is because directors hold on to that hype from the first film, especially if it does well, or it's the hype within the pop culture community, you know, like Addams Family. Who doesn't like Addams? I mean, I'm sure there's people who don't, but you know, Addams Family is very well loved in pop culture. And so it's a guarantee they're at least going to make back their money and at least going to make a decent profit on it.
They're all like immediate box office hits pretty much. Like, look at The Strangers Chapter 1, how terrible of a movie that was, and yet it made so much fucking money. And I'm also just a little bit overwhelmed by all of the reboots that have been announced, like, and just sequels and obviously remakes, just everything. Can we like slow it down? I feel like there's an announcement every single day, and I'm trying to keep up and I'm trying to keep track of everything, especially to report back to you, and I just can't. I can't. Also, why does everything need to be a series? Why is everything being made into a series nowadays? Obviously, non-horror, we got Harry Potter. Okay, we don't need that. Love Harry Potter. Huge fan. Why are we making it into a series? Okay. Obviously, we have the It prequel series where Bill Skarsgård will reprise his role as Pennywise. Hostel is getting a series. Creep, you know, Creep is getting a TV series as well. I know people are excited about it. I am too. I will be watching it, but like, what's with the series? Is that the era we're in now? Is like, we're gonna do reboots, remakes, and sequels in a series form because series seem to be a hit. I don't I don't understand. Sequels galore, obviously. We're always in an era of sequels ever since the dawn of film. We have newer announcements that have been announced 28 years later. Obviously, Cillian Murphy is coming back to do that one. Return to Silent Hill. Again, I could not be more excited about that. Is that a sequel though? Not really. It's actually just another installment in the franchise because it's following more closely to Silent Hill 2, the game. Obviously, we have Mike Flanagan doing the next Exorcist movie. Thank God, because The Exorcist Believer was not great. David Gordon Green, I don't know. I liked what he did with Halloween. I don't love what he did with The Exorcist, so I'm glad to see Mike Flanagan is doing the next Exorcist movie. Not really excited about it in general. Even Coherence is getting a sequel. Why? Does it need a sequel? I don't know what they're going to do with that. Anyway, that's just the newer announcements. Obviously, we have a lot of other ones. I'm not even going to list them. I feel like we are stuck as a society, and I'm sure that I could do, with my psychology background, I could do a whole deep dive into the psychology of why we feel stuck in society and why we are stuck making the same things over and over and over again. If not direct remakes, reboots, or sequels, we are reinventing the wheel constantly and just recycling a lot of the same things. And you don't see, we get a lot of original horror, okay? But we're not seeing a lot of this, of new things being done. Also, original horror doesn't make the most money. And that's one of my frustrations. I get that we get original horror every single year. There's a lot of original stuff. And sometimes you do have to seek it out because the marketing is not that great. The budgets maybe aren't as big as these big remakes that are being done constantly, but they don't get the same treatment as the blockbusters of the remakes, you know what I mean? And that's the frustration, because the people who deserve that kind of success are the ones making original horror. And I'm also not saying there hasn't been decent remakes in the last 10 years. We're looking at the last 10 years specifically as, you know, a whole collective, and I am going to be talking about the worst remakes that have come out in that decade, because in my last time I talked about this, I did the best. We're stuck making the same things and not well. That's another one of my frustrations with this. They're not done well. What happened to the remakes that were, you know, put in a lot of effort into them? They don't care to, because they know they don't have to. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating that the original horror is not making more money than it is, because people don't care about it. People care more about the remakes, reboots, and sequels. Yet those are the ones that are not being put effort into. Like, those are the ones that are not done as well as the original horrors typically. But simply, there are more bad remakes than there are good, especially since 2010. So let's talk about them. Let's talk about some of those really bad remakes that have come out in the last decade. And the first one's cheating a little bit because it came out in 2013, so not quite decade, but last 11 years, whatever. Carrie from 2013. Firstly, Chloe Moritz, love her. Not ugly enough. She's not weird looking enough to play Carrie. I'm sorry. Sissy Spacek, love her. She was iconic in that role. She's beautiful, but she has a very unique look to her that you would believe that she's a weird girl. And I just didn't love the casting for Carrie 2013. Also, the addition of the technology in this movie, I get why they did that. A lot of movies in the 2010s had to modernize a lot of things. Some of these examples, they had to modernize it. Don't love that. And I know they have to do that because they have to make it fit in with the times. Obviously, it's a modern rendition of an original. Anyway, I hate Carrie. I think it's a terrible, terrible remake. And Carrie, the original, is of course a classic. I'm not trying to be a snob when it comes to the originals of these movies, because you know by now I am by no means a snob when it comes to movies. This favorite remake of all time. Also ironic I chose to wear this for this video. Personally, I think, this is another point I wanted to talk about, I think the 2000s had some of the best remakes, and that might negate my entire opinion for most of you for this video, because I'm sure a lot of people don't take that opinion very seriously, that the 2000s was a great decade for horror and film in general. But look at like Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake from 2003. That remake is iconic. I love that movie, and Texas Chainsaw is one of my favorite movies of all time, the original. I think the 2000s remade a lot of 70s movies as well, which I love that decade. Anyway, continuing on with the worst remakes ever made, Martyrs from 2016. What are we doing? Why even try? Why even try that one? Why does America need to remake every French movie? Like, or just any movie, you know? Again, ironic, hypocrite, I'm a hypocrite, I get it. This one, they did really well, okay? What we don't need is a toned down, watered down version of Martyrs. That was not the point at all. They took out most of the disturbing elements from that movie. It was horrendous, what they did to Martyrs. It was insulting, honestly, to the original. Like, it just doesn't work when you take all of that away. Like, the disturbing nature of Martyrs, the original, is for a reason. Why are we taking all of that away? Like, we're making it just a dumbed down American version, and it's really annoying. Next, we have Cabin Fever. Too soon. Too soon, man. Eli Roth, what are you doing? This just didn't need to be remade. Didn't need to. I love the original Cabin Fever. What are we doing? 14 years, not enough time, really. But then again, I can't be a hypocrite because Funny Games, same director, he made the same movie 10 years later, and it was an American remake. And I love both, so. But I feel like Michael Haneke knew what he wanted to do. Like, he wanted to make that version from the beginning, and he still put in the same effort. I personally have hated what Cabin Fever, the franchise, has become. Patient Zero was terrible, and I'm all for like a shitty movie now and again, but those are just too bad. Too bad for me. I can't do it. Like, I liked Rings, and I liked Blair Witch 2016. Those aren't great. This one, he ruined it. He ruined it. Okay, next, Pet Sematary. You knew that was coming. I'm going in order of oldest to most recent. Pet Sematary from 2019. Again, we need to stop remaking Stephen King adaptations. Like, I got more on this list. I didn't love Pet Sematary switching around the characters, you know, it just doesn't work. I don't think this works as a modern movie, and I don't know if that's a weird thing to say. And it's not like the original has fantastic child acting by any means, but the remake just did nothing for me. Black Christmas. Why are we making things twice? Why are we remaking things twice? Black Christmas had its remake. It had its moment. Again, early 2000s, remaking a 70s movie. The original Black Christmas, one of my favorite 70s movies, or just in general, horror movies of all time. And 2006, didn't hate it. Again, it's my era. I'm biased, okay? 2019, Black Christmas? We should spend that money somewhere else. Remake something else. Black Christmas already had a remake. We don't need it again. I don't even know why they decided to. They changed so many things, obviously. It's just one of the worst, literally one of the worst remakes I've ever seen in my whole life. Including also the next one, The Grudge. The Grudge remake. This is more like a soft reboot, which is one of the reasons why it's actually one of the worst, because it didn't even have a lot of the elements from The Grudge that make it The Grudge. This wasn't a Grudge movie at all. So I feel like this movie shouldn't even count. But I can count on one hand, like, how many times I've been in a theater and a movie has upset me so much that I wanted to walk out. I never have walked out of a movie because I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give it my full attention and full effort to redeem itself, okay? Because you never know. Maybe the ending picks up, whatever. I always sit a movie through. I will DNF a movie at home, but if I'm in a theater and I spent money on it, I'm going to watch the whole thing. So I've never left. But this one, I thought was a joke. It was a joke. It really was insulting. I'm not obsessed with the original. You think I would be, but I'm not. I'm not obsessed with the original. But what was that? The Craft Legacy from 2020. What? Why? Again, this is one of those, it's like a lot of modern updates, and I can't do it with the modern. It just doesn't work when you modernize it like that, when you give them like glitter makeup, and it's just not realistic. Like, the fashion in the original Craft was just so iconic, and this did not do any of that justice. Firestarter from 2022, that was garbage. Like, I don't like the original very much, but why? Why did we remake that? Who was talking about Firestarter? Who was like, ooh, Firestarter needs a remake? Who? No one cares about that movie. Sorry. No one cares. No one cares about Firestarter by Stephen King. Again, we need to stop remaking Stephen King things. We need to stop making Stephen King things, period. Okay? I'm sorry. Someone had to say it. We need to stop adapting Stephen King stuff. Yeah. And it's not stopping, by the way. We got The Monkey coming. Goodnight Mommy from 2022. Probably not the worst remake on this list, but again, didn't need to be made. Though I do love Naomi Watts. Everything just goes back to this shirt. I love Naomi Watts, but just, it didn't do it for me. Like, I don't, again, love the original by any means, but They were basically the same movie, so why? I don't. Most of the time, remakes, this is a stupid point, but I just want to say that a lot of times remakes are just unnecessary. I said that for a lot of those movies that I talked about, unnecessary. But especially when they just came out a year ago and they were already in English, Speak No Evil. We're getting a Speak No Evil remake this year. If language is the issue, America just wants to remake everything. Like, why does America have to... Why are we remaking every single goddamn movie? This obviously applies to non-horror as well. One example really recently, Mean Girls. Watch some of that. We're wasting money on marketing. We're wasting money not even putting in a lot of effort into these movies and like actually making sure that they're done really well or the acting is great. Like The Strangers Chapter 1, to me, I got more mad about it after I filmed my video because I realized it felt like false advertising in a way, because it's supposed to be a prequel, yet they're using modern technology when the original was set in 2008, 2007, whatever, and they have flip phones in that one, they have iPhones in the new one. Not a prequel, clearly, and it was basically a remake. It was a remake. They changed a couple things, and then they marketed it as Meet the Strangers, like you're supposed to get to know them. That didn't happen. And then they talk about the first kill being the hardest, and it's like they're implying that this is a prequel, but then they have a cop-out like it's actually not a prequel. What is it? What is it? Is it a reboot? Is it a remake? Is it a prequel? To me, it's a remake. It's just a blatant remake because they just did the same thing. But I hope you understand what I'm saying and where my specific frustrations, where they lie, and I hope I've like explained that enough because I'm just so tired, guys. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted every day. I open Twitter and I see another reboot or another remake or something, another series being made. Like, I don't care. I don't care about a lot of these until I do. And then I'm really excited about it, like Silent Hill and Final Destination and Saw 11. So, again, hypocrite, whatever. Anyway, that's my remake video of my rant about remakes that I made 5 years ago. That's the video. If you can think of any other remakes or terrible remakes or just anything, any remakes that you love, feel free to list them in the comments. Like, just talk about remakes and how do you feel about it? Leave a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will talk to you soon. Bye.